Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spotlight On, NLP Spotlight On. Today we get a master trainer, a gold master trainer. His name's Anthony Rizk from beautiful Lebanon. And he also spends a lot of time in Florida and other parts of the United States. And he's a world traveler. He's one of my favorite people. I will say that. I say that about a lot of people, but I really mean it. I've known him for a while. He's always doing new stuff, which is fascinating. We're going to ask him about that and all that. So I always start with the question. First, I say hello, Anthony. But my first question is,
hello, Doc.
What got you into the world of hypnosis and NLP? What was your journey?
It was you. It was you. Oh, wow. My journey was incredibly interesting, to me at least. When I met the world of hypnosis, when I entered into the world of hypnosis, I was probably studying it for manipulation at the age of 17. I'm 34 now, so it's been a while. How to manipulate people, how to get dates and stuff like that. But then at the time, of course, you have to go through the journey and spend a few years, almost like 2 decades, to discover that doesn't work for that. But at the time, I was 127 kilos. I don't know how much that is in pounds, but that's a lot of kilos. Probably like 250 pounds, maybe more.
Yeah, a little over.
And I was smoking 3 packs a day, and I was doing all kinds of drugs. And then I met Tony Robbins in a seminar. I'm like, man, if this guy could change his life, I probably could change his life as well. Of course, Tony Robbins calls NLP neuro-associative conditioning, but that's what got my curiosity. And I started Googling and stuff like that. Where can I learn this? Where could I do that? And I met all kinds of people. And it was a waste of money until I met you. And I absolutely fell in love with it. I absolutely adored hypnosis. NLP is still my soft spot because I love how fast it is and how good of a teacher you were to me and a mentor. And that's it. So I dropped the weight. I quit smoking. Quit drugs. Probably the heaviest drug I was taking was heroin. That was the toughest to kick. But that was that. So I fell in love with the field, and I said, if I did it, and if so many thousands of people did it before me, then I have to start teaching whatever I did to myself and whatever I learned from you guys, and I have to start teaching people all over the world. And that's what started it.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and I know you've taken a lot of classes from a lot of different people, which opens up all these other avenues to study.
Oh, yeah.
You know, my current term is I have to teach from my current level of ignorance. And what I mean by that is I'm going to learn more. If I think I stop learning, I'm dead.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know? So, but with all the things, you've trained with a lot of people, like you said, and you bounced around. What are your current passions in NLP and hypnosis? So what are some of your current passions, and where do you want to go next with it in your life?
So I've been working a lot with people who don't seem to have goals. And I came across a lot of teachers who were always preaching that it's easy. It's easy if you just focus on it. But what I've discovered, Doc, and I learned that from you as well, is that it's not easy. Reality is it's never easy, but it's doable. And I'm always reminded by this quote, by this saying from the Marines that says, everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die. Everybody thinks it's easy until they start doing the job. However, it becomes easy if you have a strategy. Like if you have a bulletproof plan or steps that you could follow, or maybe that daily 1% improvement, especially when it comes to the field of peak performance and bettering yourself every single day, then it becomes easy. If you set up those rituals. So really my passion for the past probably 3 years has been focusing on those people who don't have a goal, or people who don't have a vision for their life, or they don't see that it's possible for them to achieve their dreams. And as Les Brown says, you can either live your fears or live your dreams. And most of the people that I'm meeting are actually living some form of fear, or at least, to say the least, a story that they keep on repeating for themselves, and how, as to why they were victims, or how they were abused, or how life was unfair. So once you start really messing around with their psychology and showing them that it's really possible if you just follow some simple steps, they change. So that has been my passion.
Cool. Well, that reminds me, I just gave a talk on like the opioid epidemic here in the States, which is all over the world.
Yeah.
But one of the things that like nobody wants to talk about, they want to talk about the drug, or they want to talk about this. And the current thought is, a lot of addictions is about connection. You disconnect from things. But really, I can use America as an example. When you look at the areas where the opioid epidemic is the highest, people have no hopes or dreams. They're in an area where the coal mines are closing, the steel mills are gone, and those jobs aren't coming back. So, you watch, your dad was a third generation steel worker, which was a great living. That was my family's origin, right? But it's gone. So you got no hope, you got no dreams, you got no goals, as you said. So you just anesthetize the pain. Because I see people recover from addictions with treatment, without treatment, with AA, without AA, with whatever. As soon as they lock onto a hope and a dream and a compelling future, they're able to move forward.
Right. And I'm always trying to remind those people that when you focus on your why, the how doesn't matter. Because so far, Doc, and I learned that from you. A lot of people are always focusing on the hows. How can I do this? How can I do that? How can I improve my life? Without really focusing on their whys. So we call them the 4 Ps, the pain of staying where you are, and the pleasure of staying where you are, and then the pain of leaving where you are, that emotional state that you're in. And then finally, the big reward, the big why, the pleasure of leaving the emotional state you're in. And it's no longer enough to say, I'm fed up with where I am right now. It's no longer enough to say that, but you have to have that big drive. You have to have that big goal. And in my book, the very first page or paragraph or chapter, I talk about, let's say you live on an incredibly hot island and you just decide to leave and you only have that one sailboat. It's no longer enough to operate by your drive to avoid pain. Because how do you know that when you get on your sailboat, you're going to get anywhere better than whatever you are? So it's good to have that motivation, that away from pain and towards pleasure. But what's really more important is to have a crystal clear goal on where you want to get. Just focus on the why. And I'm always reminded by those people, like Les Brown has this beautiful, not Les Brown, Eric Thomas has this beautiful metaphor of saying things. Like if someone were to strangle me right now, the first 10 seconds, I would feel edgy and uncomfortable. But the second 10 seconds, it would feel incredibly uncomfortable. And then I just want to breathe so bad. So I start kicking and moving. But then they let go of the hand and I could take that breath like... And Eric Thomas says, you have to want your goals as bad as you want that breath. So this is the why. Knowing that you deserve it, knowing that if you can follow the steps, you could definitely earn it, is what I've been practicing and preaching for the past probably 10 or 12 years.
Oh, cool. I've been thinking a lot lately that, when you first wake up and you're coming out of your sleep, deep trance, right? Your brain's kicking. I'm into this, the neurochemicals. Your melatonin is being flipped. One little thing changes, turns into serotonin and dopamine. Anyway, so you're coming to your senses. Unfortunately, most of us, the first thing we do is reach back to our past.
Oh, absolutely.
So we think about who we are, who am I mad at, what the fuck is going to go wrong today, yada, yada, yada. And then we live Groundhog Day, like that movie.
Right.
And then we get up and we do the same things with the same people, do the same routines, and then magically expect our life to change.
You remind me of a quote by Einstein. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
And so, it's those little changes, whatever they happen to be, so you're, like you say, if you're living from your future, as Neville Goddard would say, toward the end of his life, he talked about, you got to live from your future. And people thought he was crazy, and now they're looking, it's like, no, this makes sense when you think about it. Because if you're living from your future, it's going to pull you toward it. When you look at the high achievers, especially in like sports, which is measurable, that's why I think we like sports.
Right.
They're, they think different and they live from their future. Here's a quick question I'm asking a couple people. What was one of the best learning experiences you had where you went to do something, maybe it just totally blew up? But you went afterwards, you learned a lot. A lot of times people don't want to talk about that,
I want to talk about it, but nobody knows. It's not public, but let's see. So You know that I've been attending Tony Robbins every year, right?
Right.
From
The
the
Date
age
with
of
Destiny?
17.
Do you go to the Destiny or do you go to the Unlimited?
I've tried all of them, but I find my kick the most in UPW, Unleash the Power Within. So when I was 17, I went to my first seminar, and the way I got the money for it was by selling drugs, because at the time I was using and selling.
You're an entrepreneur, brother.
so at the time, everybody was expecting me to firewalk, right? Because I preached about it, and I'm like, I'm gonna go firewalk and break my fears. And I went there and was so ashamed of myself that I didn't firewalk. I got too scared, right? But everybody, I came back to Lebanon and I was telling everybody I walked on fire. It was easy. I didn't feel anything. And they're like, show us videos or pictures. And I'm like, oh, we weren't allowed to film. And I kept going, dog, till the age of 22, probably. And then at 22, when I actually started doing this for a living, 23 probably, I'm like, that's it. I have to walk on fire. No matter what happens, I have to walk. Because I was seeing thousands of people walking, and they were just an incredible performance, an incredibly empowering experience that everybody was breaking their negative beliefs, their limiting beliefs, except for me. I was like standing there and watching everybody and saying the coal is fake and this is fake and this is that. So finally at the age of 23, I did it, and I had the videos to prove it. And so what I really learned from it is, actually what I learned was a video that I just watched on your Facebook page, which is something, sometimes when you're busy helping other people, you forget about yourself. And you give the metaphor of the personal trainer at the gym, who is so busy training other people, and their excuse is, I have no time, right? They're so busy that they forget themselves. So that was a lesson, and I've been practicing that for the past 11 years. I don't know if this is gonna sound selfish or not, but I think this is the secret of why I love doing what I do so much, and I'm full with clients the whole time. It's because I have to love me first. I have to take care of me first. Because if I don't, there's no way I could help the amount of people that I help. And I'm sure you do that, Doc. You're obviously my role model. You're my mentor, you're my coach, you're my friend, and you're my brother. So I learned that from you. You have to take care of yourself first. If you're feeling emotionally down, you have to hire a coach to help you through your problems. And like, just like we say in modeling in NLP, you always have to have a model and a role model and a mentor and a personal coach. I don't expect everybody to understand all the fields. Like, for example, I have a personal trainer who handles my physical abilities, because I'm not going to study personal fitness and personal training to know how to train. Plus, I'm lazy. So I need someone to always remind me, you need to do that because, and tie it into my goal, because you're always on stage. Because how do you want to look like and feel like in front of 5,000 people? Do you want to be boring and old and run out of energy 2 hours into the talk? Or do you want to have infinite amounts of energy? That's how we could do 14-hour seminars. So I say I have to hire all those coaches in my life. And to whomever is watching, if you're in the business of NLP or hypnosis, if you're training other people, you have to take care of yourself first. It's a lesson that I've learned. Out with the old and in with the new. That's what I say.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me. I remember when I was taking martial arts much more actively, and one of my teachers said, well, if your master doesn't have a master, run.
Run, absolutely.
Right? Because, you know, unless they're like and he made the caveat, unless they're like in their 80s and everybody's dead, right?
Yeah.
Still, even then, they're still studying with different people and doing different things, you know, so that's a good point. And of course, I'm always reminded, like when we're on airplanes, they always say, put your own mask on first.
First, right. Before you take care of others, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so where do you want to go next with your studies and with what you want to teach? Because, you know, it keeps opening up. As we learn more, we have more to learn.
Where do I want to go next? In terms of what I study, I'm open to everything. And I learned that from you as well. So I travel the world looking for the best of the best of the best to train with them. And at this point, I just look for this 1% that I take out of the seminar. And to me, if I got 1%, it's worth my time and my investment. So I'm looking for that constantly. Any topic interests me, anything in the personal development, how to improve yourself, how to improve others, I'm always all in. In terms of what I want to teach next, I don't know, you tell me, dog, whatever. Any cutting edge technology, anything that I'm interested in, anything that I experience myself and implement on my clients and help them improve their lives, I'm interested in learning that first, mastering it in my own life, and then starting to teach it. If I'm talking about Lebanon, we have an incredible need for life coaches. This is why we've trained so many in the past year, probably like 130 or 140. We have that need. Everybody's interested in personal development. In terms of motivational speaking as well, I love to empower people on how to speak in front of other people and change their lives, because I really believe everybody has a story to share and everybody's been through a certain journey with their own backpack, which I'm positive a lot of people can learn from. I love what I love training the most, NLP. I love giving basic NLP and master NLP and the life coaching class, obviously.
Okay. Yeah, because when they get it, when they, when that, now we know it's their pineal gland opens up and suddenly it's like, that's especially a cool experience.
What's most rewarding, that those people sign up to become life coaches, but then they discover that they changed their own lives along the way. It's so interesting that because they thought that they couldn't change for so long, but then when the magic happens, it just happens and it becomes infectious.
Well, yeah, I know. I was talking to a group, my master trainer group, which you're in. We were talking about something, and I said, well, you know, the numbers still hold true, just seem for everybody, you know, that like, let's say you got 10 people in the room and you're doing a basic NLP, basic hypnosis, even life coaching, you know, less than half will actually go and do it for a living. But for a while, I would think this was something like, oh my God, we should up the numbers. But it doesn't mean they don't, like you said, it doesn't mean they don't totally change their lives. And now they're the best, happiest real estate agent you could ever, and they're making millions of dollars or whatever.
Absolutely.
So they're happy, you know. And what really helped me is after all those years, I finally went to several Tony events, you know, and, you know, I'm looking around the room and there's like, I was at Date with Destiny. I've never done the UPW, right? Done a couple of Destinies and business masteries and got to hang out with the groups. But, you know, I'm looking around and in that, and I got to sit up front with that, you know, with his platinum partnership people. And it's like, interesting. You know, none of those people, very few of them, unlike most of our, like we go to conferences, I'm a life coach, I'm this, I'm that.
Right.
They're doing other things, but they've incorporated it in their lives. And I think that's what that's what I'm really starting to ram in with all my, especially the trainers training, is when you're teaching this, have the people incorporated into their lives. So we don't become psychology professors.
Correct. Correct. I can't say you could, but yeah, I completely agree.
Cool. And one quick question. You know, your life changing, your personal life is changing rapidly. Tell me how that is, and what's coming up in about 30 days, give or take a little bit. How has that impacted you as a human being, and how are you going to leverage that to be even better?
Oh man, I don't know, Doc. This is too personal. Well, my wife is expecting. We've been trying for a while now. So her due date is in a month. I don't know. I'm an extremist, Doc, and you know me. You've known me for what, 10 years now? I already wrote the little kid. He hasn't even come here yet. And I wrote him an incantation for him to read every single morning. I'm assuming, you know what? I'm going to teach this kid anchoring. The minute he could talk and rationalize and understand what's going on. Things like incantations, when you wake up, what to do in the morning, just those rituals that we had to discover by mistake, because we weren't taught all those things in school. One thing I learned from Grant Cardone is make your kid introduce themselves like, hi, my name is John, and I could do anything. Just those small things, daily habits. For example, something that I've been doing for the past 7 years was wake up in the morning. First thing you do, just like you said right now, you have a choice, whether you want to live in the past or from the past, or whether you really want to create a life that's a masterpiece. You got to do this one thing. The difference is wake up, you control what happens in your brain. So in those brain waves you were talking about, those critical few minutes, the minute you wake up, if I could influence my kids learning mode, I would love him to watch motivational videos in the morning. Maybe write your goals, long-term goals. Something that I'm going to teach him that I wasn't taught in school, nor in my master's degree in business, was never, ever think smart. You know, because this smart thing has been going on for the past few years, the specific, measurable, attainable, reachable, or realistic, and then timely. I want my kid to think big, because I'll go with a quote that says, aim for the moon, because even if you miss, you land among the stars. Our problem was, always has been, taking things too safe, thinking too small, thinking baby steps. But hey, man, what happens if you dream so big and you achieve 10% of that? I'll still go for this number. So I think this is what I've learned, and I think this is what I want to pass on, is just thinking big. You're worth it. The metaphor is, I had someone close to me pass away. She was at the age of, my grandma was 90 years old. And I went to her because I always think those people have a lot of wisdom. I'm like, Grandma, just give me one advice. Like, I'm the life coach who coaches thousands of people. And I'm like, Grandma, give me one tip for me to live my life. And you know what she said, Doc? She never said live average, or worry about other people, what they're saying, or be afraid, or be an introvert, or don't talk to strangers. She said, my one advice, if I could redo my life, I would say, live big, think big, love people, leave them better than how you find them. Never, ever doubt yourself. Never, ever tell people your problems, because most of them don't care. And the other half is happy that you're having them, right? But you see, she says, life goes so fast for you to worry about the small details that happened in the past. Just focus on how can you improve tomorrow. And she wasn't a life coach, right? She never had a job anyways. But her experience was so rich that it touched me, and hopefully that's what I want to pass on.
Oh, cool. You know, I was talking to someone yesterday in a session, and she made the comment, why is it people always want to tell the person that's doing it how it's impossible to do what they're doing?
Exactly.
And I've heard other people say it, but the way she just said, because she was doing something and her whole family's like, well, you can't do that. She goes, but I'm almost done. You know, it's like,
yeah.
What do you mean I can't?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're like,
oh,
yeah, but it's really not possible.
They always have an opinion, right?
Right. Well, one last thing I want to ask your opinion on, and let you riff on it, as a musician would say. There's been a lot of thought that, like, you know, as we start changing ourselves and those around us, it's like the analogy of the 4-minute mile, where, you know, in 1954, they were convinced if you ran a 4-minute mile, you would die because your heart would explode. Right. Now, kids in the 7th and 8th grade, if you can't run a 4-minute mile, you're not on the track team, right?
Absolutely.
So it becomes easier and more replicatable. And like you say, you get the right coaches to take you down that direction. If you want to run a 4-minute mile, get somebody to show you how to do it, And so I think that is what we're kind of doing, is we're breaking that, what people thought were impossible, whether it's walk on the hot coals, whether it's write your own book, whether it's break free from those other things and live big and think big. So what do you think about that? And how do you know what I mean?
Well, I completely agree, Doc, especially with this day and age, where a lot of people say, I don't have the resources, but it's not true. Like, you could study anything you want in the world. And I think the most important subject to study is your personal happiness, right? Because a lot of people are everybody wants to live happy, and everybody is chasing happiness in their own way. And what we do, and I learned this from you, is to show them that happiness comes from within. And you see all this talk about passion, and I cannot find my passion, and I need to find something that's going to be my passion. And what I always say is, I don't necessarily believe that people are born with passions. You just have to cross that 10,000 hour mastery of one thing, and then you get to call it your passion. Because, well, you know what Bruce Lee says, right? I'm not going to quote him, but I'm not sure how it goes. Something like, I'm not afraid of a man who knows 10,000 kicks, who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I'm afraid of a man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times. So just mastering something really becomes your passion. And the excuses of, I don't have the resources, they no longer are valid. They're just not valid. If you don't have the resources, if you don't have money to attend our seminars, you could always get us on YouTube for free. You could get YouTube motivational any motivational speaker you want. You can watch them on YouTube for 5, 10, 20 minutes a day. And it gives you a boost, especially if you wake up, and that costs nothing. If you don't like watching videos, you could go for something like Audible. Listen to audiobooks. If you don't like to listen to audiobooks, just read something. Excuses are done. Those who want to improve have so many different possibilities to improve and so many different ways to improve and grow. But I always say, if you grow at a 1% rate every single day, a lot of people think that in a year you're going to go through 365%, which is not true, because it has this just compounding effect. If you grow at a rate of 1% every day, after a year, you're going to probably hit around 14,000% of growth. So that's all what we have to focus on. Just those small baby steps, do our rituals. And I saw that in a video of yours as well. When you're saying you just don't eat one salad and say, I'm healthy for the rest of my life. You just have to do it every single day. You don't work out once a year and say, I'm fit for the rest of my life. It's the conditioning. Just like when in the old days, the gladiators, they wanted to make swords. They had to strike that steel, that iron steel, until it could bend, right? It's conditioning. Just do whatever you have to do consistently with the same intensity every single day. And you're going to reach mastery in anything you want. Just say, no excuses.
Cool. We should get t-shirts made, say, in the age of knowledge, ignorance is a choice.
Yeah, exactly. I completely agree.
Yeah. And like you say, there's everything. I was at a couple seminars and I've been talking about epigenetics and brainwave patterns and gamma and all this other stuff I've been into. Like, you can't figure out how to teach it or what to do with it. And I was at one a few weeks ago and somebody goes, oh, you must be a big student of Dr. Joe. And now his name just fell out of my head. I'll just call him Dr. Joe, right? And he's been around forever. And I'm like, who the heck is Dr. Joe? I'm asking. And he goes, well, you're saying the same thing, you know, da. And it's that whole tap into the collective unconscious and the information's there. And then I went and I looked the guy up and it's like, this is scary, you know? And he's much more scientific than I am because he's I think he's a chiropractor, and then he went and got a doctorate in neurology or something. And so he's breaking it down that way. And I'm like, fascinating stuff. And it's you know, and like you say, and I would tell people my big technique and tip for the day would be find something you do and then tag that new behavior onto it. Like lately, you know, I go take care of the horses, not every morning. My wife and I take turns because they're at a different place, and you get to go shovel horse shit, and there's, you know.
Awesome.
Well, and like I tell people, though, the good news about that is it's kind of like my life. If we skip cleaning the stalls for a couple of days, that shit builds up. And then it's a lot of work to get rid of it. If we go every day and clean the stall, it's pretty easy. You know,
I got to go buy myself a horse.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like a metaphor for life. Don't let that crap build up in your life, right? And then you can, and that. But so I got to do that. So when I'm at the barn, I put on an Audible book, or I find a YouTube, because, you know, if you got a smartphone, everything's at your fingertips all over the world. So I've been listening to these things, right? And like you say, it's about the conditioning. So that would be my technique and tip, would be like, find something you already do. Like one guy would teach, like, if you're a coffee drinker in the morning, like a lot of Americans, and, you know, where you're at, it might be tea drinkers in the morning.
It's coffee.
Okay. But what if you add your ritual onto that?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, whether it's write your gratitude list, whether it's whatever, do a breathing exercise, whatever it is. So that would be my technique or tip. So we always do this with our people. I put them on the spot and say, well, you know, what would be one of your fastest, quickest NLP techniques you would share? As I got to yell at the bird to shut up in the background.
Yeah, I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
What's my favorite NLP technique?
Yeah, or what would be one you would share, like that?
Well, I kind of stole it from different places.
Okay.
And built it into something that I love.
Well, that's what I want. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 sessions, I'm going to probably use that technique. So it starts, who's watching us talk?
Well, it goes out to the e-zine list first, and then we put it on Facebook. You'll get a copy if you want to put it on your own. It goes on YouTube. We try to push it out there.
So everybody knows NLP? Everybody who's going to watch this?
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the technique is just exactly like the circle of excellence or the states of excellence, but I kind of modified it. So they stand big, right? And I try to push them, and I just tell them, just plant yourself firmly in the ground and close your eyes. And then they close their eyes. And I asked them about a few times where they felt really, really powerful. And we VACOG that. So we elicit the 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. And then I tell them, just give me a good color that sums up this entire state that you're feeling now. So they give me, let's just say they gave me, their color for power was red. I'm like, awesome. Then we break state, open your eyes, close your eyes, fuck a cactus, do whatever breaks your state. And then I'm like, think of a time where you thought you were weak. And we VACOG that as well. And then I asked them for a color, and they say, let's say they gave me, give me a weak color. Light
Gray.
yellow.
Yeah, light
gray. Okay. Light yellow. So light yellow is their weakness color. So I'm like, good, now stand big. And I want you to imagine you're into a scanner machine and you're going to scan your body, right? You're going to see different spots of light yellow all over your body. They could be things from your past, things in your present, things that have affected you, whatever they are, but things you don't like about yourself, maybe your character, maybe your physical body, maybe your entourage, your physical environment. Just look at yourself and make sure you identify those spots. Because next, when I ask you to take a deep breath, you're going to take a deep breath of red, so the color of power, and send it all the way down to your toes. And it's going to replace those spots, those yellow spots, slowly. So when you inhale, and we call it the breath of dragons, because you inhale red and you exhale pale yellow. And you keep doing that, and I start building up the momentum. So I'm like, now we're at the ankles. Take a deeper breath. Good. Exhale. Now we're at the knees. And I start building it up until we stop here. And I tell them, this has been the easiest part so far. This is the toughest, because most of us live in our heads. Most of us live in other people's perceptions of our reality, how they think of us. And for the past many years, you've been using that to put your own limits. So this is going to take the most time. So I need you to breathe with intensity. And they start doing those breathing things and whatever. And once they fill themselves up, and I'm like, I need to test this. Make sure there's no more yellow in you. Are you all red? And they say yes. And I'm like, make a promise to yourself, rain or shine, and probably end up giving them one of those bracelets. Did you ever get my bracelets off?
Yeah. My wife likes the one I can.
Yeah. So I give them like this red one. Others compete, I dominate, or success is my obligation, or something. And I'm like, let this be an anchor. Each and every single time you see it, you remember exactly the state, and you know that you're invincible and you're bulletproof. And we start doing those things. Then I give them like 5 minutes to write their autobiography. So it's kind of stolen from the new, what's it called? Developing self-appreciation, right?
Yeah.
So finish your autobiography the way you'd like to see your life unfold. And I want you to write another paragraph. So when you're down, you could read, to remember that state, to feel it every single time. And of course, I give them an anchor as homework. And yeah, I use music at the same time. It's a track called Time by Hans Zimmer. It's beautiful. It's so motivational. It's like the Inception song.
Okay.
So that's it. And then I give them a self-anchor, and then they're gone. So I don't know what you want to call that. Let's call it the stolen buffet. Is it good?
I would call it Dragon's Breath.
Dragon's Breath. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. People love metaphor.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool. All right. Yeah. So there's something people can add, right? That was kind of cool.
I do it every morning.
Yeah, I might try it. It might be that would be a good, like you say, morning ritual for yourself.
Oh yeah.
Chase out those things from the past or whatever. You could riff on this for hours, like how you can use it.
True.
You know,
but if it's confidence, exhale low confidence and breathe in good confidence, or the best moments of your life from the success track of the Master NLP. So anything like that, just breathe in whatever you want to exchange. And you know what, Doc? It has worked for me personally. This is my personal opinion. It has worked for me with phobias better than the fast phobia technique from the basic. Because I'm like, what do you need to touch this snake? And they're like, I need to be powerful. Good, give a color for power. And they give you, for example, blue. And what don't you need? They say fear. Give a color for fear, let's say white. So you make them do the same thing. Next thing you know, and I'm slowly getting the snake close to them, right? As they're breathing. I'm like, open your eyes, there's a snake in front of you. What are you going to do? They open their eyes and the snake is there. I mean, this stuff, man, see, every time I talk about it, I fall in love with it again, Doc, because it's so real. A person who's lived for, God knows, tens of years with this specific fear or this limiting belief, and it just broke within minutes. It's unreal, man. I'm blessed to have met you, Doc.
Oh,
I don't say this enough. I try my best, but honestly, you were the most impactful person of my life, and I'm so grateful and honored to have met you, sir.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Well, how do people get in touch with you? How do they buy your book? What's the name of your book? Your current book? I know you're writing another one. If not, you will. So.
Okay. My book is called The Power of Life Mastery, and it's
there. I should have pulled it up.
Yeah. They could get it on my store. It's anthonyrizk.org/shop. We have tons of cool stuff. How can they get in touch with me? Through email. I do a lot of stories on Instagram. My story, I don't know what you call it, the handle, or what is it? Yeah, my username is life.mastery. So make sure to follow. Send me direct messages that you're a fan of Dr. Will, and I'll follow you right back.
Oh, cool.
That's good.
Cool. Yeah. I'm starting to use that.
It's pretty interesting.
Twitter and yes, it's like,
yeah.
Well, I do Twitter, and so now I started Instagram. I'm trying to keep up. I want to be the hip old guy.
Yeah, but you know something nice about Instagram? You get to talk to a lot of fans and the followers, because I have like 50 or 60,000. But I always start with this: hey, I'm Coach Anthony, and my job is to help you change your life. Any questions you want, just direct message me, and I'll reply back to you with whatever. And I do those stories, quick tips on how to improve their lives, and they love them. So it's a beautiful way to connect with not only friends and family, but also those people who really follow your work.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'll post that in the thing on how to your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle, so people can follow you. I got to start putting that, and I'll start following you. Cool.
Thank you.
All right. So, any closing thoughts? Like I said, this starts out with the NLP kind of group, and then goes out.
Yeah.
To wherever.
Well, to whomever is watching this, guys, I really don't get anything from what I'm about to say, but I've traveled the world, met thousands of teachers. I'm going to give you a compliment, Doc, okay? It's going to be a big compliment. I've traveled the world, met some of the biggest guys, spent most of my money while I was learning, and until I stumbled across this guy, Dr. William Horton. He really practices what he teaches. Just follow his work, get some of his books, see what works for you. If you get the chance to ever attend one of his trainings, please don't postpone that. You could postpone a lot of things. You could postpone, I don't know, so many, hundreds of things, but never ever postpone an opportunity for you to grow, especially an opportunity for you to learn from the best. I never miss a seminar whenever I get the chance. I'm always looking for his new stuff to get on board, to do something for me, because it's always growing. And you know what? He has practiced what he's preaching. He continues to practice. How many people do you know who look as fit as he does? Huh? Show me the biceps, Doc. Look at those. Look at those. Come on. Talk about practicing what you're preaching. Sir, you are an inspiration. I hope you continue to be in my life and coaching me and guiding me and giving me all your tips and tricks on how to become the best version of myself. And I want to see you real soon. I hope I can attend one of your seminars.
Cool. Thank you. And for everybody, this is Spotlight On, and it was Anthony Rizk of Lebanon, and he's one of the people you should get to know.